Welcome into a very special edition of Gimme Five, our first ever guest pod. Instead of a single shot of espresso, we have a double shot, and we have one of our best friends with us, Jack Raff, today. And Jack has something very near and dear to his heart to bring to the pod. Jack, tell us once and for all, what is the hardest sport to play?
Okay, first I want to say I'm honored as the first guest. Easily hardest non-martial arts sport to play, which I feel like I should mention in the beginning that we have to exclude martial arts because I think that they automatically take the top. I mean, it's like two guys trying to kill each other in a ring. There's nothing like that in the world. But besides that, the hardest sport to play is hockey, easily. Not easily, but definitely hockey.
We're talking ice hockey here, I assume.
Yes, yes.
I mean, first of all, welcome, Jack. We're happy to have you on. Um, I'm glad you prefaced that because I was going to say boxing has to be number one, but if we're excluding all martial arts from the equation, I think hockey's a great choice. Obviously, you're going to be on the ice, you're skating around. That's a whole sport by itself. You got a whole sport dedicated to that. Figure skating, speed skating, just fun skating. I can't even do that. So when you throw in the fact that you have to have an entire sport as well on top of it, that becomes a whole different dimension. Jack, I'm going to tell you what the actual hardest sport is, and that's baseball. Okay?
That
Look,
is,
I know
yo,
no, listen to me. Listen to me. Let me explain it. I know a lot of people when they're kids, maybe, especially in America, you're playing baseball growing up, whatever. Maybe it's easy, t-ball, softball, whatever. But when you get to the professional level and you're playing in the MLB, you got a guy standing 90 feet away from you, or no, not even 60 feet away from you, excuse me, who is throwing a ball about yay big, I'd say, at you at 100 miles an hour almost, and it's moving, it's spinning, and you got to try to hit that thing with a round bat that's about yay wide, I would say. That's impossible. That's fucking impossible. There's no doubt about it. Nobody can do it. Like if you get a hit baseball 3 out of every 10 times when you're out to bat, you're a Hall of Famer. That right there shows it's the hardest part. Failure is actually success in that sport. That's how hard it is.
I
listen,
think,
listen. There's no, sorry, John, you want to
no, go
go?
ahead, Jack. Go ahead, please.
I want to say there's no debate, right? The hardest thing to do in sports, the hardest thing to do in sports is to hit a baseball. But that is one singular aspect of the sport, which, in my opinion, the rest of the sport in requirements of athleticism and technique does not match up to the overall technicality and skill requirements of other sports. There's a lot more athleticism that goes into hockey. I want to say soccer is in my top three. I mean, these are real crazy, crazy athletes that no, none of them could hit a baseball for their life. But in terms of technicality and overall as a general sport, 100% harder. 100%.
I think hockey's a really, really hard sport to play because not only are you worrying about, your stick handling, but obviously, as you guys said, you need to be able to skate. But once you become a really good, sure, and take hits and be aggressive, all that jazz. But I think once you learn how to skate and once that becomes second nature to you, a lot of that gets a little bit easier. It's almost like you're playing on a field for these guys, not for me. I'd be stumbling out there for sure. I think baseball is a really, really hard sport. I've never seen regressions as quickly. People just lose it in baseball as quickly as they do. It's hard to hit a baseball. And Jack, you say there's other aspects of the sport. Sure, there's pitching, which is difficult too, but maybe not as difficult as things in other sports. But hitting is a pretty big part of baseball. If you say, I'm a great baseball player, but I can't hit, and you're not a pitcher, you're kind of screwed. So I would say that's pretty essential. And before you jump on me, let me throw another sport out there. And you might go crazy because this is the sport that some people probably might say is the easiest, which is crazy to me. Golf, man. Everybody thinks golf.
Okay.
Everybody thinks they can play golf. Everybody thinks it's so easy. We're talking about at a professional level to be a scratch golfer, to be a golfer who can golf 10 under par. You have to be so perfect, so precise, be thinking all the time, and you can't make any mistakes with so many people watching you.
No, okay. So now I will say that's a better argument for number one. However, it still isn't, and I'll tell you why right now. Golf, in terms of pure technicality, is the hardest sport to play. Overall, as a sport, it is more technically demanding than baseball, which is, I would say, probably the second or third highest demanding technical sport. But you come back to overall, I'm looking at technicality and I'm looking at athleticism, okay? You don't need to be with rare exceptions, you don't need to be a crazy, crazy athlete to play golf. You need crazy, crazy technical skill, but you don't need to be a crazy, crazy athlete. So I think that aspect alone has to remove it from the number one spot. It's definitely in the top 5.
Jack, does being the best athlete or the most athletic sport make a sport the hardest? That's the question.
No, it's the combination. It's always a combination.
I think we do need to make a distinction there between what is the hardest sport in terms of physically, if you're going out there every single day and playing the sport. That's obviously one thing in terms of athleticism. And the other hand is, like Jack said, what is the hardest thing to do in sports, which I would vouch is not hitting a golf ball. Hitting a golf ball, I'm sorry, you say it's a lot of technique. If you get out there and practice every day, there's no reason that playing golf is any different than like doing darts. Like, by that logic, darts is also the hardest sport in the world because you have to get it in the exact point every single time. Golf, you just got to hit the ball at the right spot. And you do that every single time, repetition, it's going in the hole. It's not that hard. There's a reason we play mini golf. We play all these games for little kids. Darts, same exact thing. Pool. Talk about pool is equally hard.
You're comparing golf to billiards?
Dude,
that's crazy.
Tell me you don't play golf without telling me you don't play golf. I mean, seriously, this is ridiculous.
Jonah, you let this guy co-host? What is going on right now?
You play pool? Have you ever played pool competitively?
Yes, many times.
I would like to say I'm good at pool.
If you went up against a professional pool player, you would get destroyed. Probably more than if you went up against a professional golfer.
If you went up against a professional cornhole player, you would get destroyed. That doesn't mean it's the hardest sport.
Yeah, if you went against Tiger Woods, you think you'd fare better against a prime Tiger Woods than prime pool ball guy? I'm not too worried about that.
Pool ball guy has a name, and I think he's a little bit upset that you don't know him. Let me give you a take here also that I think you might not be a little bit happy with. But let's talk about horseback riding, okay? I've never ridden a horse in my life. I don't think, but that's a sport where you literally have to be able to communicate and train an animal. That's like a whole different thing to worry about. Like, imagine you were playing hockey and your stick just randomly sometimes got a mind of its own and started doing its own thing. Or you were playing golf, but then also in golf you had to worry about your club just running away sometimes. That's horseback riding. If you really
the horse is doing the work, though. The horse is doing the work.
But you got to train it. You got to like do the
but you do this and then it does the thing and then it's over.
But could you do it? No,
I can't do it. But I don't see how that could be harder than technically hitting a golf ball.
Listen. I will give you a real left out of left field hardest sport. Ready? Tennis. Tennis could very well be among the hardest sports in the world to play. 100%. That's more than horseback riding and billiards for sure.
What's the case? Why? Because they serve so fast, or what?
No, I mean, look at the agility these guys have. I mean, Roger Federer, Serena Williams is probably the best female athlete of all time, and that's for a reason, though. I mean, these are freak athletes that are returning serves that are coming at like 130, 150 miles an hour. Like, this is insane. It doesn't get talked about enough.
Jack, do you think the grunting makes people better at tennis?
That's a good question. I don't know, actually. I mean, you look at powerlifters and they scream. Like, you go to the gym, you'll hear them scream.
I feel, again, we do have to make some sort of distinction here, though, between the athleticism aspect of stuff versus the actual, like, technique in and day out, like, grindability of this kind of things. Because, like, if we're talking about just endurance and, like, ability, then I would say, like, triathlons and, like, Ironman, that shit's the hardest. Because that's, like, you have to be a superhuman athlete to be able to do that kind of stuff.
But you're going to tell me a triathlon runner is a better athlete than LeBron James or Cristiano Ronaldo?
Yeah, probably.
No, you're not. Because overall, no. In running athleticism, yeah, but not in overall athleticism.
No, but you have to swim and bike and run.
But guys, I think it's the mental side factors in too. Not just either athletics or it's very hard to hit a baseball. But I think a reason why tennis could be up there is because think about the singularity of it. That's the same thing I was saying with golf. That pressure to be in the lead in the last day, to be in the Wimbledon final. You have to fight mentally and physically at every turn.
Okay, but if you want to talk about mental, you want to talk about the most pressure there is in sports is shooting a penalty shot. Easily. The most pressure in sports is a 90th minute penalty shot in the World Cup.
I would actually echo that by saying I was actually tonight at a football game, a soccer game. I'm just thinking about that. Like, if you talk about the pressure of those games, when you're out there, like today, random qualifying game, conference league, whatever, like not arguably, objectively a big game, 50,000 people in the stadium. right? If you're going to the golf course, there's, maybe on a good day, like at a minor tournament, 20 people standing at the tee box watching you on a random hole? Like, obviously, at the big holes, there's a lot of people, but, like, that same pressure is not there. Versus when you go out on the football fields, like, you're going to be in front of thousands of fans every single night, criticized, critiqued in the media. Like, that's a lot of pressure. That's going to obviously get you as well. I think that's a really good point, Jack. That's going to have a lot of impact on you as well.
Quickly, before we end, let's go around the horn, starting with Jack. The definitive hardest sport. Go.
Listen, right now, I'm gonna give my arguments, and then I'm gonna give you my reasoning.
No, we don't have time, Jack. Give us the name.
All right, fine. I'm sticking with hockey, although I might do soccer, but I'll stick with hockey.
Hockey to Jack. Elias?
I'm going baseball.
Baseball. And you know what? Let's make it interesting. I will go golf. This has been Gimme Five, the double shot edition. Big thanks to Jack Raff for coming on and being the first ever guest. Boys, thank you so much for talking.
It was fun.
Jones. Talk to you soon.